On this episode of Neighborhood Preppers, Intrepid Prepping, Prepping Without Fear, coming up next. Welcome, everyone, to Neighborhood Preppers. I'm Alton James, and I'm joined by the man himself, Mr. Bobby Riggs Jr. How's it
What's going
going?
on, guys? Living the dream, man. Living the dream. How are you doing today?
Can't complain too much.
Yeah, no, we've had a couple hot days here in Michigan, man. Oh my God, it's so hot. I was outside all day today. It's just sweating. So I turned my air on as low as it'll go. So here I am sitting in a hoodie in my basement just freezing.
There you
So
go.
it feels good, though. Feels good, man. Everything's going good. Everybody's healthy over there.
Everybody's well. Can't complain one bit.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy everything that's going on right now, and it's funny to make that like part of my normal conversation whenever I talk to somebody. Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? Everybody healthy?
Right.
It's just become part of the new norm, as they say.
It is. It is. And the fact that we're in this pandemic and talking about new norms, I think everyone's fear is, kind of at an all-time high. I know it's super depressing watching the news a lot of times, seeing these random acts of violence. And one of the things that we want to get across with this episode is really thinking about when we're doing preparation just in life in general, whether it's disaster prepping or whatever the case may be, that we're doing it not out of a sense of fear, but out of a sense of doing what we can to take care of the people around us.
Exactly, and you have to have a mindset every time you prep. You have to have a plan because, when you don't have a plan, things are gonna, take you by surprise. And I think prepping is supposed to, prepping is people who are trying to be prepared. And none of us have a crystal ball. None of us know exactly what's going to happen. There's a lot of people that are going to have predictions. You're going to try to plan for things ahead, but none of us know. None of us know the day that COVID-19 is going to come to an end. Nobody knows if it's going to come to an end. Nobody knows when the protests and the riots are going to stop. We just don't know. The future is always an unknown, and it's scary. People fear what they don't understand, and people fear what they don't know. And like you said, when you start getting into that fear prepping, and you start getting into the hoarding and the panic buying, all it takes is one person to panic buy, and the shelf looks a little bit low, and then the next person sees it, and then next thing you know, the shelves are empty.
Right.
And unnecessarily, not because the trucks aren't running, not because there's not supplies, but because one person didn't prepare in small preps throughout time, and all of a sudden, they had to panic buy, and it's scary, man. Anybody who's been in a grocery store or placed an online order knows of the shortages. They know of the price gouging and stuff that's out there, and it can be terrifying. It can be overwhelming when you walk into the stores. I know you've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand, and it really is. It's an unreal world that we're living in right now. And I believe as mankind, as humans, as people, we're going to overcome this, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
We're going to overcome this. This isn't the end of the world. All right. If we came on here, which a lot of preppers do, and they said, all right, it's time to get in the bunker. It's time's up.
Exactly.
It'd be hard. So, what have you been working on over the last couple of days? To engage your prepping.
Yeah. So since our last episode, I've done some stuff with reinforcing my actual doors coming in the home. And again, it's not out of fear. It's not out of any irrational fear. It's just, I'm always prepping. I'm always trying to add the next
Right.
thing, do the next thing. And so.
And we've talked about you wanting to do that for a while.
Exactly.
And I know something. And so, just because we're talking about preps that we're doing, it doesn't mean we're running out in fear because, something bad's about to happen. It
Right.
means, hey, we're prepping because we're going to continue to prep every single day. And I know that was something that you had mentioned wanting to do when, some finances lined up and
But
you had the opportunity to do so.
the thing that's so weird is that I've actually had, excuse me, I've had those materials for like a few months now. I kind of installed stuff in pieces, just like
You're a busy guy.
yeah, I am. And so, I think even since our last episode, I did the final pieces to my water filtration system. I was waiting on the part for the UV filter to the system. The system itself was connected, so the sediment filter, the carbon filter, and the water softener were already connected and, supplying great water to the house. But it was that last piece of the UV filter. And, that's another peace of mind thing for me. If anything happens, even just in the course of kind of our everyday life, there are instances where a water treatment center may have issues or may go down, or there may be something that
Wait, do we
happens.
know something about that here in Michigan? Have we been dealing with something like that in a little town called Flint?
Yeah, definitely in Flint.
Right.
And gosh, still now, just thinking about that, the fact that it's still going on, my heart just really goes out to everyone there. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily easy for anyone to get that type of filtration system and put in their house. It's not cheap. It's
Right.
not inexpensive. So, I did all the work myself, so I obviously saved a lot of money. But the system itself was, I don't know, almost $3,000 or something like that. So, if you go pay a good licensed plumber, they're probably going to charge you another $2,500 just to put it in. So, you're going to be out $5,000-$6,000 just putting a system in like that. So, and I know one of the things that both of us do is we try to do as much as we can ourselves to save on that money, because we know prepping is expensive.
It is. Prepping ain't easy. Prepping ain't cheap.
Nope.
And, it's funny because we're both very active in a lot of the different, prepping chat rooms and Facebooks and social medias and stuff. And, there's always, especially right now, given the times, there's tons of people looking into getting started. And, there's the, I got to run out and I got to buy this and this and this and this. And you get so overwhelmed. It's scary because, when you look at the checkbook and you log on to that bank account and you have this mindset that I need solar panels, I need a generator, I need 6 months worth of food, I need my freezer stocked, I don't have a freezer, I got to buy a freezer. Like when you get into that mindset, it gets overwhelming, and then you start losing sleep over it. And I don't know about you, so I don't want to speak for you, but I know when I first got into prepping, I told the story about building my bug out bag, and I built it fairly fast.
Get home safe bag.
But yes, my get home safe bag. That was the first thing I built. So I built my get home safe bag, and I got it built real fast because it's not a super expensive prep. It didn't take a lot of funds. Straight from there, I went to my bug out bag. That was my second prep. Now, when I started building my bug out bag, there were some items in there that were a lot more expensive. And because I was new and I had the mindset of like, I got to be a prepper, I got to get prepared as fast as I can, it almost ate away at me. You know what I mean? Like I allowed it to what if it happens right now? Like, what if it happens right now? I'm not ready. And so, I lost sleep over it.
Yeah.
It was all I was thinking about. And I found out that, number one, the more people that I communicated with, the more comfortable I felt, right? Because even if there was something I didn't have, I knew that I had somebody watching my back, right? Hey, don't worry about it. I got some. Whew, thank good.
Right.
I can rest on that. And that's what's awesome about this neighborhood prepper mentality is, unless you hit the lottery, you're not going to be able to flip a switch and get it all done overnight.
Never.
Even if you do hit the lottery, you're not going to flip a switch and get it overnight because, money doesn't buy knowledge.
It's very true.
So you don't have to panic. You don't have to all of a sudden feel like it has to get done. The world's coming to an end. Don't put a doomsday clock. Don't have that mindset, because when you do, it's gonna overwhelm you. And we got to remember, we still have to live our life.
Definitely.
You work today. We were talking. You were busy at work.
Yeah.
I still got a family. My wife was working. I'm unfortunately still laid off right now, but my wife was working. My kid had a baseball game. there's still life. There's still life.
Yeah.
And we still have to live it. Sometimes you just got to shut off Facebook, turn off the news, get out there because, man, it'll consume you.
Yeah.
It really will. And it's scary. So, we definitely want to encourage everybody to keep prepping, But that doesn't mean you have to go out and empty the bank account and do everything. That means, hey, if you go to the grocery store and you can throw a couple extra preps in your shopping cart, do it. And then when you save up and we always talk, you're a big ticket guy.
Yeah,
you're good. You got a lot more discipline with your finances than I do because I'm like, ooh, shiny new toy, and I go and buy it. And you're like, you have that big ticket item and you put your mind to it and you save up for it, and that's awesome. And I think that's one of the things that makes us such a good team because you got a whole bunch of big ticket items and I've got, egg noodles to last us a lifetime. So,
right.
But for me this week, let's see, the last couple weeks, I'm going camping. Me and my family decided we're going to go just get away.
Good practice, too.
Yeah, and exactly, it's great practice. We rented a cabin. We're going to go stay there for a week.
Wow, a whole week.
And
wow.
Yeah, it's like 5 days. So it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited, and we are going to do it. Like everything's going to be cooked over an open fire. We did some camping last year, and I bought one of those. It's like a grill, but it's just a table. You literally just open it up and set it over your fire pit, and you cook right on it.
Nice.
And so we're gonna live just like that. I'm bringing the life straws, and we're gonna drink water and filter water from the lake. I mean, we're gonna have fun with it. Of course we're gonna cheat and have some water bottles and stuff, but I'm excited for it. So the last week I've been taking a lot of empty paper towel rolls, cutting them all up, filling them with dryer lint, folding them up,
fire tinder,
dipping them in wax and fire tinder. And if you've been following, you saw the pictures. My garden's going good. I have more zucchini than I know what to do. I think I planted too much zucchini.
Hey, but you use that with your parents, so that's good that you're able to take care of them with that. And you know what? I've got to post some pictures. I forgot to tell you. I've been so busy. I finally harvested the lettuce. So I actually
really?
Yeah, I had a great salad. Everything homegrown.
Wow.
Right down here in the basement. It was amazing. I made some bacon, cut it up in there, and some grilled chicken and cheese, and
probably tasted amazing.
Made my own croutons from bread, and
really?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh,
sounds
great.
I just dehydrated the bread and cut it up, and bam, croutons.
So you've also fired up the dehydrator?
Yeah, man, it's a great thing. It's great.
Anything else in the dehydrator?
I haven't. I've been so just busy with work and some other projects and stuff I've been working on. So no luck there. But I just want to, the fact that you just said that, asking about the dehydrator, and I'm thinking about these various purchases I've made over time, kind of going back to the fear piece and trying to put some people's mind at ease. The things that I do, they're all cumulative. They're over time. Bobby has been, you've been building your food preps
almost
for
9 years.
A long time.
Right.
And, we're not changing our day-to-day based on what's going on in the world right now. We're just doing little by little. Because if you start doing things off of fear, you're going to be in a bad place. I mean, just imagine if when a few years ago when swine flu or SARS was huge. What if people just decided to empty their bank accounts then and then life returned to normal and then they don't have anything?
Exactly.
You can't even live your life after that. So
and life's going to return to normal.
Yeah.
We don't know when. And we're slowly getting there. Like right now, like we're allowed to go to the stores, we're allowed to go to the restaurants. We're just being asked to wear a mask. Like I know it's a super inconvenient. It's not something we're prone to, right? Because, we're free. We're allowed to do what we want. But it's like I'm wearing a mask. Yeah. It's uncomfortable. Look at this beard. Does this look like somebody that wants to? I mean, I don't want to cover this thing up. It's beautiful, but I'm putting on my mask and I'm And I'm doing what I have to do because we're going to return to normal, but we're not going to return to normal if we're not all working together. You
Exactly.
know, the longer that we're out in the streets fighting each other and arguing with each other, a good friend of mine, somebody that I train with, we just he's a manager at a restaurant, and, somebody came in without a mask. They didn't want to put one on. Store policy, restaurant policy says you have to have one. Well, I'm here to eat. I can't eat with a mask on. They said, sir, we'll get you to your table. We'll sit you down when your food comes. We'll let you eat. He punched the manager in the face.
Yeah, I heard about
Like,
that.
man, we got to stop fighting each other. There's just no reason. I mean, just be respectful. I mean, it's no different, this mask thing. Again, it's annoying. I can't stand it. But it's no difference than the no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Right.
Right? It's a slight inconvenience. They told us we had to wear seatbelts. We wear seatbelts.
Right.
Right? Because I want to see everybody get home to their family. I want everybody to be safe. Again, man, I don't like wearing a mask any more than anybody. But I'm doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm a healthy guy. I'm really not that worried about COVID-19 for me. I exercise. I've never smoked a day in my life. If I get it, I might be okay. But I don't want my kids to catch it. I don't want my neighbors to catch it. And God forbid, I don't want my parents to catch it.
Right.
Right? So I'm just going to take the precautions. And if that, I hate the term, but it's like, you're giving in. You're afraid of things. I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm just being respectful. It's no difference if I held the door for you. I'm just trying to be a nice guy.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that are scared. There's a lot of people that are rightfully so scared of COVID-19. They're afraid to catch it. They're afraid to take it home to their kids, to their families. And so if me walking around with a mask on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour while I'm in the store, if that helps somebody relax and peacefully go home without worrying, I mean, I have no problem doing it.
It's funny. First of all, wearing a mask doesn't really bother me. Yeah, I don't care.
Not at all.
The one thing I was joking about, I think I posted like a week ago. I was like, well, I know a lot of people don't like wearing a mask, but hey, I haven't had a cold this entire season. I haven't had as much as a cold this entire season.
Honestly.
Not a sinus infection, nothing. Like,
I know.
so I can say that. And the thing that's interesting is I want people to really think about when they say something is inconveniencing them to that level, because I think especially in the prepper community, we're prepping for the most inconvenient times where
Right.
you're living, where you're living in a situation that no one wants to live in.
You're off the grid.
Right.
I mean, there's
You're
literally
you're crapping in a bucket and pulling water out of a stream. I think
For real.
you'd rather wear a mask than do those
Right,
things.
exactly.
So
Yeah, I know.
I think we need to really loosen up what we think about when in terms of things inconveniencing us, and just be really mindful about how we can not do things out of fear or even do things out of aggression, where it's like, this is mine, or this is my freedom, or this is my right. And think about, what can I do that's just going to ensure the continuity of normalcy moving forward.
Right. And it's so crazy because this new term, the new normal, we
Right.
keep hearing it. We're hearing it in commercials, and it's somewhat annoying because it's like, it's basically telling us that the world's going to change. It's going to look different on the opposite side of this. Now, obviously being here in the United States, because we do have listeners overseas. So being here in the United States, our world dramatically changed after 9/11. Things changed, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, lost their lives, and things were handled differently coming out of that. But they were all slight inconveniences, right? Like, nothing changed my life to the point where I don't feel like I can live my life to the fullest. This is going to be the same thing, right? Like, a lot more people have lost their lives. A lot more people have been sick, and this is obviously strung on a lot longer than the immediate impact we felt from 9/11. But on the flip side of 9/11, you talk about the changes. Most airports put their security in the front of the airport. I mean, I remember just in my lifetime being able to walk somebody all the way up to the plane.
Yeah.
I mean, you used to be able to walk them up to the plane and say goodbye and everything, and of course the security got pushed back. You have to take your hoodies off or your zip ups. You have to remove your shoes. So there's some inconveniences that have happened from 9/11. But everybody felt safer on the other side, right? Everybody feels safer getting on an airplane because of what happened. This is what I'm hoping the new normal is, right? This is what I'm hoping on the flip side of this in a couple months, um, you know, give or take, maybe a little bit longer. We have the new normal, and it's going to be more hand washing stations, better sanitation in restaurants, cleaning the menus, right?
I
I
hope
mean,
so. Yeah.
and I think about this not because of COVID-19, but I think about this because of, like you just said, you haven't had a common cold, you haven't had, nothing. And man, maybe we just took for granted the healthcare system that we have, where you can just walk into a doctor's and stuff like that, and we're very fortunate because we both have health insurance and stuff like that. But I think about how difficult it might have been for single parents and people who didn't have the convenience and the health insurance to just, hey, I got a common cold, I'm gonna just go into the doctor's and get my medication. Because man, it's got to be hard. And you think about just the sanitation of this world, right? Like, how many people touch a menu? That was probably something nobody ever thought about. Like, you sit down in a restaurant and they hand you your menu and you just grab and you start reading. But who touched it before you? Well, salt and pepper shakers on the counter. I mean, so these little things that are now implanted in our thought process with everything we do. Somebody has a full-time job right now cleaning shopping carts.
Right.
And I remember it was a big deal when they started putting in just the wipes you could get when you walked into the store, and it was like, what is this? Oh, they're offering me a wipe to wipe down my cart. Like, wow, what a nice gesture. I never thought about wiping down my cart. And now it's the new norm, right? And so I hope on the flip side of all of this, I hope we've learned a thing or two. Not just because of COVID-19, but because of the flu, because of the common cold and all of these other things. And like you said, you haven't been sick wearing a mask and everything. And our world's been healthier. We got dolphins swimming in other places. So I don't completely look at all of this as a bad thing, because I do think we've learned a lot, not just about COVID-19 and coronavirus, but about, the transfer of viruses and bacteria and stuff like that. And I mean, anything else you think on the flip side is going to be part of this new norm?
One of the things that I think is important, and allow me to digress for a second. Let me not digress, but let me switch, going back to what
Yeah,
you
of course.
said, thinking about 9/11, and this is one of the things I hope that we learn, that we haven't learned to this point. So, for instance, after 9/11, obviously there was a lot of oppression and discrimination against folks that came or looked like they were from the Middle East, or what we call the Middle East. Just like there's been the same thing with people of Asian descent after COVID
Right.
19. We've seen people attacked or people be brutalized. And again, that comes out of people's fear.
Yeah.
And so when we do things out of fear, we start to really lose our humanity. And the whole point of prepping is to maintain humanity. So
Exactly.
whether that's us maintaining ourselves physically so that we just simply survive, but it's also about thinking about how we can propagate our sense of culture and our sense of belonging and care for the rest of the environment and the rest of humans around us.
Right.
Because, as you like to say a lot of times, if there aren't people around, then what are you prepping for? You don't really want to be here, because
Yeah.
we need to make sure we're thinking about the continuity of our species, right?
For real. For real.
But in a way that's not, breaking us down or turning us into these war-mongering people fighting over territory and resources. And what we continue to see, unfortunately, through this COVID-19 pandemic or throughout history, is that we make these decisions based off of fear. and then we make irrational decisions, and then we make things bad for groups of people. And so, as we move forward, I hope that we learn that lesson. You're talking about the lesson learning piece. I hope we're learning the lesson not only of sanitation, not only of what we can do to protect vulnerable populations, whether it's the elderly, and thinking about those things, but just that we can really wind the clock back and say, hey, man, we're all people, and we got to make sure that we're doing the best to protect everyone, whether it's vulnerable populations or just people in general.
Exactly. And there's always among the prepper, communities and groups and everything. It's so funny because I always laugh. You get these Facebook pages and stuff, and they go on, and you have the two opposite preppers, right? You have the one that wants to, pump their chest. Look what I have. I've saved up, 1,000 pounds of rice. Look at all my guns. Look at how many rounds of ammo I have. And they're putting pictures on, and then everybody comes on and they're like, you can't show nobody what you have. Like, you're messing up. And then you have the person, which is usually the opposite, which is, I'm not telling anybody what I have. It's mine, 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 mine. Right? And I think, you have to be somewhere in the middle,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Again, I've opened up to you, because we're family now, and I've opened up to you. You probably know more of my preps than my wife, only because I'm more comfortable telling you how much I've spent than I am with
Hey,
her.
you know what? It's the same thing on my end, because my wife is just like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, you bought what? And
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll need it someday, babe. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
But so we communicate, and I pretty much all my preps. So and we've shared a lot with our neighborhood preppers community. I mean, obviously we posted pictures, the pictures we're taking in our homes. I shared stuff that I like to food preps. We've talked about the fact that we have guns and ammo. We've talked about stuff different preps that we have. So
Right.
we're sharing information. Now, does that mean I've told you guys everything?
Exactly.
No, right? But I've put it out there that I have preps. And I've also put it out there that if you need help, I'm willing to help you, right? Whether that's sharing knowledge, whether that's sharing ideas, whether that's helping you get started, helping you build a get home safe bag. Like, I want to share, because ultimately, like you just preached on, is prepping for a world without people makes no sense to me. And right now there's a real high level of the mentality that we're going to end up going to war with ourselves. And that's a terrifying thought, right? Like,
Yes.
I consider myself fortunate enough that I haven't been in war. I've never gone to war. But my best friend, he spent plenty of time overseas. After 9/11, he was the first ground unit through Fallujah and Baghdad, and he's been in war. And I've talked to him. I've seen him cry, right? I don't wish this upon anybody.
Definitely not.
So this mindset of we're going to war, I hope the people that are saying that aren't hoping for that. And I know there is a really strong line drawn in the sand. And it's drawn in the sands because of a lot of different beliefs, right? And one of the things that I love about us, and I love about our podcast, and I love about just our network, is there's obviously a huge difference in people's religions and politics, and for me, I keep it neutral, right? I don't need to talk politics. That's not what this is. But there is. It's a clear cut. There is a line drawn right now. And the one thing that I don't like about this line being drawn is nobody's willing to walk the line to listen to the other side.
Right, exactly.
And that's scary because, like you said, we need to look out for each other. We need to look out for our neighbors. And me and you, we've discussed our neighborhood. Our neighborhood's fairly diverse. We have younger couples. We have older couples. We have lots of different nationalities in here. So our neighborhood's very diverse. I'm sure we have a lot of Democrats. I'm sure we have a lot of Republicans. I'm sure we have a lot of independents. But at the end of the day, if something does happen, I got to rely on my neighbors because
Yeah.
they're going to be the ones that are there. And it doesn't matter to me who they voted for. It doesn't matter to me if they took a knee during the national anthem. It doesn't matter to me. None of that matters to me. What matters to me is that you're a good person, that you're going to follow those tenets that we talked about. Because ultimately, it does. I need you to do the same thing that you're going to expect from me. And if we look at each other as the donkey or the elephant, if we look at each other based off our skin color, if we judge each other by the language we speak, we're not going to be united.
Not at
And
all.
that's going to drive more fear, right? And that's scary because that diversity and that change is everywhere you go, right? Everywhere you go, you're going to see people of different nationalities. You're going to see people with different backgrounds, different upraisings, different beliefs. And if you allow that to scare you instead of encourage you,
Right.
it's gonna be a long road, and you can't because the world is a melting pot. We're all here together. This is it. This is what we have, and so we need to come together, work together, and understand that we're gonna have differences, and as long as it's not hateful and hurtful, then we can get through it. And I think that's one thing that people, especially preppers, need to understand because I think when that time comes, we're going to have to rely on each other and people are going to have to rely on us. And if you can't be that leader that people can follow, then, man, we're no better than, you know, the bad guys in The Walking Dead or the bad guys in, whatever TV show you watch that turn their back and they they want to plant their flag and it's my way or the highway.
Right. And I'm so glad you said that about being a leader because I think for me what gives me some peace and gives me some solace is thinking about I know this is funny, but I plan out all these contingencies about if something actually happened. And I
Right.
always think if something actually happened, I know, okay, I've got solar panels, I've got a generator, I've got the water filtration system. People are going to be outside and they're going to be confused and scared. And I want to be able to say, hey, let's set up camp here. Let's do what we need to do. Because I'll never forget, and I think I told you about this a couple, or at least about a month ago. Last year, I want to say last year or 2 years ago, we had a really bad storm and knocked out power for a while. And I just remember one of the neighbors coming over and
Yep.
saying, hey, what type of generator did you get and how much did it cost? Because I was the only one that had power going. Everybody
Right.
else was outside cranking up those, portable
Yep.
generators and everything. And it's a lot of work. And so if something were to happen, I would want to be able to say, hey, everyone, like, don't panic. You know, we've got some continuity of technology here. Let's figure out how we can set up. Let's, uh, everyone, bring your food. Let's figure out how we can store it, how we can make sure we can keep things going. And I think that should be your first mindset because I remember responding to someone in one of the prepper groups and she was talking about basically kind of barricading herself in with all these weapons. And if
Right.
there's anything you study with history, when you've had SHTF situations in other countries, civil
Right.
wars and famines and all that type of stuff, what happens is you get concentrations of militias or military-esque type people, and they try to find those individuals that are siloed by themselves
Right.
that have weapons, that have materials, and they go after them and they just take
And they
their stuff
overrun them.
and they overrun them.
Right.
So she's going on and on about ammo, this, that, and the other. And I was like, hold on. I was like, even if you have 40 guns and enough ammo for every creature
Right.
on Earth, you only have two hands. Like,
Right.
you need other people. And so the only thing that would give me any sense of calm is if there were like a lot of people that were like, hey, we're here, we're willing to help, let's do what we
Right.
can to work together. But if everybody was all siloed by themselves and they're like, no, this is mine, that's when you got to be scared, because
Exactly.
you could have threats from everywhere. And that's where we got to get past this whole thing of just being fearful. We got to get past this fear driven prepping, and it has to be about what can we do to connect with other people to make sure that we're protected, and we're not going to have any worries.
And and I also, much like you, and much like all preppers, and probably everybody, especially since this pandemic has hit, the first and obviously largest we've seen in our lifetime, is you start thinking of like, okay, what ifs, right? Everybody plays the what if game. I'm sure you obviously have a interest in like the EMPs and stuff like that. So like I'm sure you've had that moment where you sat back and you said, okay, what if an EMP hit right now?
Yeah.
Like what and we've all played that game. Like we've all had that mindset. And I always think, okay, do I have enough food to supply my family for a month? Do I have enough food to supply my family for 6 months, for a year? And you start asking the questions. Okay, what if the trucks stop running? And you start playing that game. And I always tell, and a lot of you listen have probably seen me on the other prepper pages, and even on our own page. I always say the first thing you prep is people, because what they're going to bring to the table is far more valuable than any gun, any
Yeah.
ammo, any bug out vehicle, any bug out location. It's far more valuable because everybody brings something to the table. Everybody. Even if it's just somebody who can sit up and stay awake so that you can get some sleep. And they
Right.
can wake you up if there's danger, wake you up if there's an emergency. Because I'm telling you, if you sit in the house by yourself, you gotta sleep,
Right.
or you're gonna go, you're gonna go mad. And if everybody thinks, well, okay, well, it's me and it's my family, and we're gonna bug out, and we're gonna abandon. Really, that's your plan? You're
Right.
gonna up and leave your house, your shelter, everything that you've prepped, and you're gonna go off into the middle of nowhere, and you're just going to let it ride because you don't think that there's other people that have the same plan. What kind of shelter do you have? Is your tent going to keep you safe? Right? So when you start thinking about that, I think that mindset should make you more fearful than the actual thing that you're prepping for.
Right.
Stay together, work together. I loved when we had Dr. Bradley on, and he was such a good speaker, and he's so precise. And I loved picking his brain and talking to him about his other preps, and that he's ready at the drop of a dime, right? He's there. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's been very successful at what he does. But the mindset that he had and the calmness, that's what I really enjoyed talking to him, and we had time to spend with him both before and after, and the calmness that he had. There was never a fear. He had zero fear of an EMP attack, right? He had zero fear of an EMP, whether it was from an attack or from the sun. He wasn't prepping for that out of fear. He did research. He understands that it's possible. And so, just like as if you're solving a math problem, you're going to come up with a hypothesis. And so he sat back and said, hey, this is something that can happen. This is the different ways it can happen. So what can I do to help prevent it and to help recover on the flip side? There was never a fear. We're going to get an EMP. It's going to shut down everybody's power. It was, okay, if this is a problem that we have, let's come up with a solution. And that's one thing that I love talking when I talk to you is, and we go back and forth, and we've said it so many times. I've learned so much from you, and I love talking about the preps. And I love that you come up with this idea, and then you come up with a plan, and then you almost like blueprint it out.
Definitely.
And then, if it lines up with everything, you get it all and you put it together. And if it doesn't, you get a piece and you sit on it and you say, okay, I got the first step. You sat on your greenhouse for a couple days. You
Yeah.
bought the greenhouse. I just need to get the dirt. And then you got the dirt. And it was like, you, hey, food prep's one of my weaknesses. I need to step it up. You acknowledged it. You weren't afraid of it. It didn't like haunt your dreams. It didn't cause you to go panic buy. It didn't cause you to go crazy. You sat back and you said, I think I need to upgrade my food preps.
Yeah.
I think I want to add some gardens. And so it was awesome. And I loved, I love watching you do that. I loved seeing, your indoor gardens. It was something that I never thought about. I don't even know if I'd be capable of doing it
Sure, you
without
could.
picking your brain. I'd have to pick your brain.
No,
but
no big deal, man. Just tubs, dirt, seeds, and grow lights and
and
water.
that's the cool thing.
That's
That's
it.
one thing that's super cool about 2020 is, you can type it up on the computer, look it up on your phone, and there's endless amounts of people you can talk to. But I love that mindset that you don't have to be scared to be a prepper. You don't. Um, I always joke about the picture of the prepper with the tinfoil hat and stacks of rice and endless bottled waters, living out in the middle of nowhere with a shotgun and a windmill and
Hmm.
their bunker and it doesn't have to be that. It really doesn't. You don't have to give up your life. You don't have to give up your job. You don't have to give up all your finances. You don't have to give up your friends and family, which still just blows my mind, the amount of people that are like, they had a chance to prep and they didn't. They're
Right.
not coming to knock on my door. They'll be greeted with a 45 or
Right.
they'll be greeted with a 12 gauge, and I'm like, oh my god, like I want people to say, hey, like you know I need help, and I wish I would have listened when I had the chance, and I
Hmm.
and I didn't, but I'm here now, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to share my knowledge, and I'm willing to help.
Exactly.
And if they have that mindset and they have the same tenets that me and you have, hey, come on in, because I want numbers, you know,
Hmm.
and it's I gotta sleep, you gotta sleep, but
Sure
I'm gonna
do.
build a network, and if that means that people are setting up tents in our backyard, and
Yeah.
then so be it, because if it comes to that, and again, this isn't like, obviously, this isn't COVID-19 like right now,
Exactly. Exactly. This is
they're
if
coming to our
things
house. This
really,
is
really got bad. Yeah.
exactly. And I love one of our big quotes is, you know, prepping for the worst while hoping for the best, and that's what you got to do. You gotta rationalize and think positive, because that mindset that the world is coming to an end, the mindset of the fear and the division between us, man, it'll eat at you, and it's going to change who you are as a person. Do you know anybody that prepped and like you saw, especially recently? Like, have you seen a change in people?
I've been really looking in those prepper pages and following people's comments, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm disturbed a lot.
Yeah,
Just really seeing people's anxieties and fear turn into kind of hatred and disdain for no reason.
yeah,
What what you really just talked about on all the different pieces you just said really gets to the heart of people being divisive, and we talked about it before. People seeing somebody as different than them, and therefore they might not speak the same language or whatever the case may be. That they're worried that this person is a threat, and we're not pie in the sky. We're not naive. We understand that people can be threats, but when you come to the table with that, we create some dangerous situations. Obviously, we're going to be mindful of people. We're going to assess them. We're going to see what their intentions are. We're not just going to say, here, have all of my preps. But at the same
Right.
time, we have to maintain some civility, or we're gonna have problems. It's funny. I joke with my mom in particular all the time, because sometimes she's like, "Man, this stuff you're doing is crazy. Like you're getting all this stuff." But then
Right.
but then I say, "Mom, if something happens, what's the first thing you're gonna do?" She said, "Go to your house."
Exactly.
so
And it's like, so
so
I
so
guess I'm
you
not that crazy.
right. So you know that there's some validity to what
Exactly.
I'm doing, and that's fine. Obviously I'm gonna take care of my parents. They took care of me
Right.
when I was a
Exactly.
child. But at the same time, it's that gives me a sense of peace. The fact that she didn't say, "Oh, I'll just go right out in the street and let somebody kill me or something," something
Right.
crazy. She's not giving
Right.
up. She's saying, what? No, there's some validity to what my son is doing, and I would want to make sure I'm with my family who's going to look out for me. And I think that's just what we need to do. We just need to build those type of communities and break that fear down. And I think we do that with every conversation that we have with people on
Right.
various pages, because I think it really resonates with them. Because in all honesty, it can feel pretty lonely when you're prepping, because you don't really see preppers around. It's not a common cultural thing where
Right.
it's okay. It's not like the new iPhone comes out, everybody go gets a new iPhone. It's not.
Right.
Preppers are not like that. Preppers are not just everywhere and you see them all the
Right.
time. It's not in the popular culture. So
But now's that time,
it is
you
that
know,
time.
and I think when me and you were talking, I think that was one of the big reasons that we thought about this podcast is because, we have both been doing it well before this pandemic. We had been communicating before, we have been prepping before, and it was like seeing this and having a lot of newcomers, not only just wanting to share our knowledge with them, but kind of help mold so that when they get into that, they're going to see a lot of that stuff that you were just talking about online. And when you have fear, and when especially when there's not a lot of communication between people, right? Because we're social distancing, right? So like most of our interaction is done through computer, through our phone and stuff. So it's like it's very easy to get sculpted and molded one way because you're not having that direct communication with somebody. And when we and you talked about doing this, we were very key on let's help guide and let's help mold the preppers with the mentality that the more preppers we have working together, not just preppers like, oh, you prepped, I prepped, we're on a team, nothing else, but to help the people around us and our communities, and regardless of what they look like or their age or anything, it's just going to make the world a better place. Because if I know that I helped mold a prepper in a neighborhood that's next to me, and maybe they're helping the people in their community, that's one less community I have to worry about attacking our community, because they're prepared. They've been molded to have a good mindset of, hey, let's work together. And I'd much rather them come knocking on my door looking for, companionship than to come shooting down my door looking to steal my stuff.
Right.
And so having that opportunity to mold and guide and help other preppers, it's kind of funny. One of my friends said that me and you make an awesome pair in the world right now, talking to other preppers and trying to help. And he made the joke that we're a perfect pair because you're a handsome black guy and I'm an ugly white guy.
Oh,
And
God.
so that's what he told me. He goes, there should be no division,
Right.
whether you're a handsome guy or an ugly guy with a crazy red beard. Doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter the language you speak. And I know you're bilingual. You've been out there speaking with my wife in Spanish, and
And
there
Eli.
should be, and Eli, yeah,
Yeah.
Eli's so funny. There should be no division, because it sounds so cliche to say, but like we all bleed the same color. right? I don't need to see I don't need to see a reflection of myself to trust a person. I need to learn from other people, from other, because everybody's going to bring something to a table. Imagine meeting, imagine imagine connecting with like an Amish group right now.
Yeah, they would
Oh my
they would be
gosh.
so in tune
The
because they've been doing
ultimate
everything.
preppers,
Yeah,
right? But like it's so funny because like the Amish, obviously they've made the decision to keep themselves as outsiders.
right.
But like there was kind of something that like you look at them and it's like, oh, they're Amish, they're different, and they get judged by the average society. But like if you're in that prepper mentality and you're trying to, holy cow, imagine what you could learn from them. You could learn everything.
Yeah,
I mean, they do everything the same way they've been doing it for 100 years, and
longer than that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it's just so crazy because what you can learn from somebody has nothing to do with their eye color, their hair color, their skin color, the language they speak, and it's just we have to get past that fear that different is bad. Different is good because that's where you're going to learn. You're not going to be able to teach yourself if you only learn from the same person that taught you. You're not going to learn anything else.
and even just going back to what your friend said and what society says. This is going to be like an overarching point, but we really got to get back to thinking about the whole idea of race was created to divide people, was created so that a handful of people who owned a lot of land and a lot of property, or sometimes people, which they thought were property,
Right.
um, so that they could maintain power. So there's no such thing as white or black. We're
Right.
just humans,
Yeah.
and we have different physical characteristics based on where our ancestors were. And you talked about you don't have to see the reflection of yourself in someone else, and that's just from a physical standpoint. But I think we can see the reflection of ourselves in all people, no matter what they look like. Like
Right.
I see a reflection of myself when I look at you and your family because
Right.
you're a caring husband and father, and the same thing on my end. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So um, those things wear away when we really just focus on humanity. When we focus on the fact that we're trying to um, make sure everyone is cared for, then,
Right.
then those things, man, they just don't matter. And we realize how society continues these things. We look at the news and it's just division, division, division. We see
Right.
different communities and people who are wearing masks, people who aren't wearing masks, people are having these riots and protests, and people just doing senseless acts of violence. Man, it's all because people have bought into this sense of division that somebody else
Right.
is different than them. When man, we're really all the same. And
We are.
and
And
when you do that, really quickly, when you do that,
yeah.
it breaks down that fear, and we can actually do prepping based on just our worry and care about other people. We're not doing it based on this irrational fear that society tells us we should have based on the perceived differences that we see in other people.
Exactly. And going back to what I said, with my more joke of
Yeah, I
looking
know it
for
was.
somebody, no, looking
Right.
for somebody that looks like yourself is if you only are looking for a certain set of person, you're going to miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime to not see somebody as a human, to not see somebody, not even just somebody, to not see something as a living creature.
Right.
We can learn a lot from animals. We can learn a lot from the plants in this world. You can learn from everything. You can learn from the rotation of the world. There's knowledge in everything. In everything that we've been offered, there's knowledge beyond that still we have yet to uncover. I mean, there's people that are learning new things every day, new species,
Right.
new things. Everybody should strive to look beyond what they see in the mirror, to look beyond the comfort of their own home, to look beyond the things that they've been taught, because you want to continue to learn. You want to get better. You want to make the world a better place. And so that fear of the unknown, the fear should not slow you down, but it should drive you.
Right.
And that's what I ultimately want people to, when they wake up in the morning and they look at themselves, they shouldn't be looking at the only person that they can rely on. They should be looking to say, hey, we're going to go out there today and we're going to take a step to learn something. We're going to take a step to meet a new person. We're going to take a step to be kind to somebody. We're going to take that step to make the world a better place than when I woke up today. And sometimes it's hard, man. You don't sleep, you got a headache. But I always, no matter what, I always try to do one thing to make the world a better place every day.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes it's something dumb. And sometimes it starts small with maybe a text to a friend I haven't talked to in a while.
Right.
Or sometimes it's just saying something nice to my wife. Because if I see that she's struggling and having a rough day and I can say something to help her, did I make the world a better place? No. But did I make it a better place for her? Yes. And that's a start. You can always do something.
Yeah.
And when you can do that and you can start reaching out and you can start helping people and other people, and you can volunteer your time, volunteer in your community, volunteer in another community.
And then that builds up your network of people that you have and that you could even prep with. So
yeah, it's great. And the more you can get out and the more you can learn, the world is a beautiful place. The molecular structure in which everything has tied together is unbelievable. Whether you're religious or not religious, you cannot deny the fact that we have plants that create something that we need to live. The cycle that's the world is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so, is there fear in the world? Of course. Of course there is. And I'm not going to tell you not to be scared because, me and you have talked. There's things that scare us and worry us. But it's the way you handle it. Everything was meant to work out. And it's going to. I wholeheartedly believe that things are going to work out. And it may take time. It may take patience. But I believe the more people we have working together, the easier and better that's going to be. And when we sat down and we were coming up with topics and we got some other guests that we want to get on. We still have a lot of fun preppings and bug out bags and everything. We really thought with the world that we're looking at right now and all the things that we see on the news, we thought that handling this right now and getting out there and just telling people, take a deep breath. We're all in this together. Every single person in the world right now is experiencing the same thing that we are. And it may be more difficult. It may be scarier for some people because of health issues and other underlying issues, but we're all going through the same thing. We're just handling it different. And if you need to reach out to somebody. And if you can't find somebody, reach out to us. Because
Definitely.
we're here. We're here to listen. And we're here to be, an eye, an ear, a shoulder, whatever you need. And, Alton will share a world of knowledge. And if you need help, building a water filtration system because that's what you're afraid of, he's got the knowledge to do that. And if you've been in a situation where you're scared of your surroundings and you want self-defense techniques or you want some training or something, I can answer the question. If you want help with prepping, we can answer that question. We're here for you. And that's what prepper should be. That's what being prepared is.
Neighborhood prepper mentality.
Exactly. And I love it. I love what we've built. I love posting out there what I picked out of my garden and seeing all the people like on it and comment. And, I love that network that we built. And I continue to encourage it throughout all the different prepper pages that we're on, and sharing our links as many times as I can to try to get people to just find us and keep listening. So share this with all your friends, all your family, and 100% talk, communicate with other people. I still think about me and you talking for the first time, and like what it's formed, what we've managed to build in this time. And I'm very thankful for that. And I can't imagine, had we not communicated and we were going through this pandemic, somewhat alone without
Right.
that, because it's funny. One of these days, I would just love to just post some of our chats that we have, because we get wild on there, man. Oh my God, people would
Oh,
laugh
man.
at us.
Yeah, I know
You
they
know,
would.
it's like we bounce off the walls all these ideas, and but it's awesome because we learn so much from each other, and I can't wait, man, because I feel like things are getting better. I know the numbers can still be scary in some areas and stuff, but like I feel like we're getting there. I feel like we're close to possibly doing a podcast. We've talked about sitting on your beautiful back patio,
Yeah.
so I believe that could be in the future.
Sit
Maybe
under the
getting into the
gazebo
studio.
and chat about the outdoor preps and the trees and the
Oh my gosh.
solar panels and generator and greenhouse and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and it's just great. It's just awesome. Looking forward to all the things that we still have to cover, and just getting together sometimes and just talking, and you guys too. Send us emails. Reach out to us. We're always looking for guests. We loved having Dr. Bradley on. It was awesome having that third person to communicate and give us a different look. So we want to encourage that, and continue you guys liking and subscribing and getting those questions and everything else. And what else you got, man? What are
Hey,
you looking forward to? Anything coming up?
um, I think just more food preps right now. That's
Yeah.
um that's where my mind kind of is right now. I'm doing pretty good with the water. I've really done a lot of research recently on how much bleach to use to purify water.
Oh,
So
good.
if I need to do that, but I think the water's good. We'll talk about bug out bags soon. I've done a
Yep.
lot. I've done a lot of research with some other folks, and having one bug out bag is really not enough. So
Right.
I've got probably 4 bags that I would end up throwing in the car just at a moment's notice. That are all obviously full right now.
Right.
They're packed and ready
Exactly.
to go. So obviously bugging out is one of the absolute last resort. We don't really want to focus on that.
And is it crazy to you, like how
It is.
popular the bug out mentality is
It
among the
is.
preppers? Because like and again, I mentioned how I built my get home safe bag, and then the second thing I built because I started surfing the preppers was, oh, you need a bug out bag. You need a bug when things go bad. You got to get out of town. And I was like, oh my God, I need a bug out bag. And like I built it, and I'm really proud of my bug out bag. I love my bug out bag,
Yeah.
but like the reality is I'm the likelihood that I'm ever going to use it as an actual bug out bag is like under 1%, because
Right.
like my bug out bag is actually more of a take stuff out if I need it when I'm in my house. Because I really,
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to hit, like we talk about, shit hitting the fan.
Hmm.
It would have to be like, obviously people live in an area where they have tornadoes and hurricanes and wildfires, and so I get the bug out bag for them, in an area where like you have to evacuate your house. But like even in that situation, like a bug out bag is going to be different if you're bugging out from a natural disaster,
Right.
because you're basically just, you need enough. It's almost like a get home safe bag, but instead of a get home safe, it's like get to your other location bag.
Right.
like when I hear bug out bag, I'm thinking like bugging out, like,
Living in the
going to a
woods.
bug out location, going into the woods and like
Gotcha.
surviving. So like you have like your get home safe bag, you have your get to a safe location in a natural disaster bag, and then you have your bug out bag. But like the people that are like, like at what point are you guys monitoring, the protests and the riots? Like I'm thinking about bugging out.
It's like crazy. Like, what are you
Like
talking
if
about?
if there's madness in the streets
Why would you
that
want to
you're
be there?
afraid of,
Right.
that's literally the last thing I want to do is take to the streets and try to get to another location. I am far more comfortable hunkering down, locking my doors, and trying to safely protect what's mine, and still allowing, everything that we are granted with the grid being up helping to protect me. I mean, for me to bug out, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I mean, we would have to be to a point of no return, and like our subdivisions being overrun by, like, a mad militia that is stronger than what our subdivision is.
Yeah.
So like,
Exactly.
like the whole bug out thing just is crazy to me. But like I've just been, I've been trying to, just get stuff organized. You were talking about your food preps. I told you, I sent you that message the other day. I got a coupon in the mail. They had those
Oh, the
moisture
containers.
seal
Yeah, the
containers
containers. Yeah.
on sale, and it was a super cheap price, cheaper than what I had found on Amazon. So I ran over and bought a couple of those. I love them for the
I
food
definitely
storage.
need some of those. Yeah.
I absolutely love those. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, they were on our food prep episode. Um, it's a storage container, and it's got the locks on the sides, but it's got a foam moisture seal that goes around it, and it's so sad that literally that probably 2 cents worth of foam that they put on it ups the price of these buckets so much.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
but it does, it helps, and the reason I know that it works is I have moisture absorbers that I put in all my storage containers when I put my food preps in. And the moisture absorbers that I have change colors. They start off like a clear, and then when they absorb moisture, they turn orange. These ones that I've had stored in the moisture protecting containers, I've had for some of them for 2 or 3 years. They're as clear as day.
Right.
The ones that I've put in other storage, I've already had to replace within the last year. So
Dang.
I have like made sure that I'm like only buying these anytime I can find them, at a discounted price, because they are a little pricey. Um, and so when I got them, I was so excited, and I was actually more mad that I ran out to the store. I did a curbside pickup to get them, and I was more mad that when I ran to pick them up, I didn't notify you, because then I would have had you
I
place your
know.
order so I could have picked them up for you. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I gotta call Alton. I gotta call, and I'm looking for my phone and I'm like,
Yep.
I left it at home. I can't even call them to
I
order.
know.
So hopefully you can still get over and snag a couple, because they had quite a bit. They had a whole wall filled.
Okay.
And but yeah, so I did that. Like I said, right now I'm just kind of getting ready for my camping trip. We're gonna try to rough it. I'm bringing my get home safe bag. I'm going to bring one of my bug out bags, and just practice hiking with it. Uh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. No. It's gonna
It's
be
gonna
good
be fun.
practice.
I can't wait until like we're 100% okay to to get rid of the social distancing to an extent, because I'm thinking next summer we're gonna have to do a dual family camping,
Yeah, that'll be
and
fun.
get both families, get all the kids out there. Oh my god, that we'd have so much fun. We could do podcasts live
Oh man, that'd be crazy. Yeah.
out in the middle of the. I don't.
Yeah.
We'd have to record it separate, because we might not have Wi-Fi out there. But man, how
Oh
cool would
no.
that be?
Record it right on the phone, and
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
bring my sound equipment. Man, we'll be good. Good to go.
Yeah, man, that'd be so cool. But yeah, that's really it. Just getting ready for that, and looking forward to that, and I'm just excited. I want to get out. I'm going a little stir
Oh
crazy,
yeah, I think we all are. I think we all are. It's tough. I do a crap ton of reading, man. I'm constantly reading.
Me
I'm
too.
constantly reading about prep stuff. I'm constantly reading about the world. still, just staying busy. I think what's really important is to keep the mind going,
Yep.
because if you can stay calm, keep your mind sharp, that helps a lot with everything. And I'm just trying to diversify myself. One of the things that I think actually really mitigates fear, since we're talking about fear and trying to reduce fear, the more you can do to kind of get rid or suppress your weaknesses, the better it is.
Yeah.
So doing more food prep for me, working out, doing combat training, all these things that I have that I'm putting in place are, uh, great, because then it's also just another accomplishment, and you have another
Right.
accomplishment. Your brain kind of rewards you with that dopamine, those endorphins. It's just like, yeah, you did
Right.
something, good job. Um, and so I'm just trying to stay sharp. That's one of the biggest things I think that we can all do. Obviously, exercise. We talk about those things, but we got to do things that calm us down, reduce that fear.
Yeah. And
So that's what
I
I'm
love
doing
how you
moving
said the
forward.
reading. I'm always striving for knowledge. I'm always looking to learn. I've been downloading stuff onto my phone that I can just read on the fly, and I just recently downloaded the encyclopedia
Oh yeah,
onto
I've
my
done that too.
phone,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm just reading the encyclopedia. Like I it's funny. It all started like teaching my boys something, and it was like I got lost, and so it's like studying, ancient history, studying American politic history, studying dinosaurs, studying,
Yeah,
and I love learning. I love learning and reading. But one thing that you said about, constantly reading and looking for more knowledge, you got to
never
be
stops.
careful. You got to be careful where you're finding your knowledge, though,
Absolutely.
because unfortunately, in the day and age where that we live right now with social media, stuff can spread like a wildfire.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. Every single person that's listening to this podcast has seen something posted on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something, and they thought, that's odd. And then you do literally like 2 seconds of research, and you can debunk what you just read, whether it's a meme or something. And
Right.
and I think that is a big problem with the fear that people have. You know, somebody, anybody, it takes literally 5 seconds. And if you slap it on a certain color background and you put a border, it almost makes it look official. And then you can slap it up on Facebook and it gets shared, a couple 100,000 times. And all of a sudden everybody believes it's true. And you got to make sure that, there's fact checkers out there. There's different websites that you can look up and do your research. I actually had somebody have an argument on Facebook that I was overseeing, and their argument was based off like a Wikipedia.
Right.
And it's like you have to be careful because anybody can go and edit a Wikipedia. Like,
Exactly.
like you can go on and you can change stuff. So like make sure what you're reading is actually there to empower you, to instill knowledge, and not just, you know, push the fear and push the division, because unfortunately there's far more of that than there is the positive and the knowledge pushing
Exactly.
out there. So
And so,
go out there.
yeah. So, and if any of our listeners are listening and you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to do this. We never talked about this on the podcast, but I do have a PhD in policy. So my whole kind of academic background has been looking at sources and the
Right.
validity of sources, and always seeking primary sources. And one of the things that
Exactly.
I always do is I don't really care about social commentary stuff. I don't care about what's on MSNBC or CNN or Fox News or any of that stuff.
Right.
I go straight to the academic papers. And I know that's going to be tough for a lot of people to read academic papers, because people use uh, academic rhetoric and vocabulary, and it's over the average person's head because they're just not used to reading
Right.
that type of wording. So that's where I always go, and it's funny, friends are sending, academic medical journal stuff to me about COVID, or we're
Right.
looking at um, other types of academic pieces. But that's always the best place to go. Um, and what can be helpful is a lot of times to read the abstracts of those and then to look at the bottom information. And I
Right.
think if people really start to be more geared towards what our research experts are telling us and dig into those pieces, it will actually help reduce their fears too, because they'll start to see these various connections between what our researchers and practitioners are telling us about what's going on in the world. And I'm not just talking about COVID, I'm talking about
Everything.
everything that you could possibly read about. And so that's one of the interesting things. And the people that you really want to follow that are talking about prepping, that really get into it, they follow the science. So if you're really looking at those bushcraft folks and they're talking about what type of wild plants are edible,
Right.
you know, the ones who have really done their work have looked back at the medicine. They've looked back at the science. They're able
Exactly.
to, tell you about root structures and the things that signify to them that, okay, this is poisonous. So if we just collectively as people really get back to digging into the academic portion, really feeding that side of our brain and doing the studying, we can really reduce our fears, because then we can say, you know what, we have the knowledge base. Even if I don't
Right.
have all the materials, just like what you said before, we can be of great use to the folks around us and helping everybody out. Because if you have all the tools and no knowledge, you're screwed. If you have all the knowledge and no tools, you're screwed. So we've got to
Exactly.
build that balance between folks that have materials and people that have knowledge, and we've got to work together.
And like you said, reaching out to somebody like you who has the PhD and can help break it down and get them in touch with, an academic, uh, you know, knowledge and stuff like that. Also, communicating with people that you trust, people
Right.
that, it's funny because obviously there's a lot of arguments about the COVID-19 and everything. And I listen to people on both sides of the fence and everything else. And I love hearing the different perspectives and opinions. And that's a very important
Right.
word, because an opinion is not a fact. And people will argue their opinions based on facts. But, especially during this COVID-19, it's been very simple for me and my wife, because we have a family member who is a head ER doctor at a very prominent hospital. And so there's arguments on both sides of the fence. And for me, it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to get involved in this argument. I'm going to speak with the head doctor, the head ER doctor of a hospital. And so I communicate with him. I have a family member who is a respiratory therapist. Now you're talking about somebody who's dealing firsthand, respiratory therapist with recovering COVID-19 patients.
Right.
So talking with her about things that she's seeing. And when I do this, even though I'm talking to an expert, even though I'm talking to somebody that I trust, I'm like, okay, I'm only getting their perspective, which is going to be different than somebody in a different, but at least I'm getting it from a source. I'm not getting it from, some dude in high school that barely passed science class that I knew from, like,
Exactly.
what I mean? That, like, I
Right.
went to high school with, and I'm like, that's cool that you have a very strong opinion about something. And I think everybody should have, I mean, that's the freedom that we have to make those opinions. But when you have an opinion and you try to force it, good or bad, if somebody doesn't understand why you're forcing that opinion, or why, then you're just spreading fear.
We're spreading fear and confusion, and it all compounds. Absolutely. And that's
Exactly.
exactly what we're talking about, trying to get rid of, not doing prepping
Exactly.
out of fear.
Exactly. And I love, I it's funny because, we live in a world where, there's a conspiracy about everything. There's probably already a conspiracy about us. I'm sure there's one out there already. But we're secretly recording in a bunker or something. But
Right.
there's a conspiracy about everything, and I love reading a good conspiracy. I love reading conspiracy theories. I think they're great. I think
Yeah.
the mindset that people have when they come up with conspiracy theories is awesome. But without cold hard facts, right? it's just that it's a conspiracy theory. Now there are some that I buy into, and I think there's enough evidence to lean my opinion one way or another, but that still doesn't make it a fact,
Right.
right? And so until the facts are out there from experts in the field with knowledge about what's going on, it is nothing but an opinion. And like you said, is the more you try to spread and push, opinions based on propaganda,
Mm-hmm.
the more uncertainty we're going to have, and the more uncertainty we have, the more fear we're going to have. And that's
Right.
what, as
And the
preppers,
more stupid decisions we're going to see people make.
exactly. And unfortunately that's happening a lot. It led to toilet paper shortages around the world.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to get past. We're trying to get um, you know we're trying to get everybody on the same page to do what's best to get over the hump of whatever. I'm not even talking about just COVID-19. I'm talking about whatever we have put in front of us,
Right.
so that we
Even
can
something in your personal
continue.
life.
Exactly. So that we can continue living our lives, so that we can continue making better decisions, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us.
Right.
And until we can get over the fears that divide us, the fears that cause us to think irrationally, we're not going to succeed. We're not going to succeed as a community. We're not going to succeed as a nation. We're not going to succeed as a world. And ultimately, it's just going to divide us. And that's a scary thought, because the more divided we are, the faster and easier we're going to fall.
That's true.
Yeah. Anything else you got for us?
Hey, man, I don't think you could have said it any better. That's a great note to leave on. Um, we really appreciate everyone sticking in and listening. We want you to remember that your biggest thing is going to be prepping for people. It's going to be prepping for the folks that you care about, making sure that people are okay around you, whether that's someone you know or whether they're a stranger, and to not do so out of fear, because part of the neighborhood prepper mentality really boils down to intrepid prepping, and that's prepping without fear. We do prepping
Right.
because we want everyone to be safe and okay. So, again, as always, you've been joined by the man himself, Mr. Bobby Riggs Jr., and this guy right here, Alton James. I want to thank you again. You've been listening and or watching to Neighborhood Preppers. We'll see you soon next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
See ya.